It was counterpoint. This is the lesson for European history for Wednesday, 29th September, AD 2021. Yesterday, after you left, Mr. Burfine laughed. He got such a kick out of you. He did. He enjoyed the spirit that you have as a group and the conversation that we had with a variety of opinions. Now, I wish to extol the virtues of a completely two-gender model of society. No, I'm not going to do that today.
Oh, come on!
Not today. There will be other things. I'm sure you were. There were other people who were not.
Well, I was.
Not. What we're going to do now. Well, you can try to be a helicopter once. Go to a helipad really high up and see if you fly. But you'll fly in one direction. And then that's it. You won't have to worry about anything else.
I have a funny joke.
What?
Okay. So, it's not a joke, never mind. It's
All right.
like,
Just say it. It's okay.
like, I don't know, something. It's something about One Direction. Never mind.
Okay.
Now you have
That
to
was
say it.
If you change your mind, let me know.
It's like something, you have to ask a question, and then you say because One Direction went in the other direction. But I forgot the question.
So, you said the
A
punchline.
priest, a rabbi, and an imam go into a bar. Now, that would never happen. Imams don't drink in public.
No, I genuinely think
Okay.
Probably it.
We are moving on. The unusually goofy way of starting.
Oh, you have a hand.
Well, I have two, thank God. Where's the hand?
Over there.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Sousa.
Okay. Did you know that graveyards are the most popular place in the world? People are just dying to get in there.
Wait, what did you say?
Graveyards, they're such popular places, everyone's dying to get in.
Oh, God.
That's good.
God,
That's
with
good.
please.
Yeah, we are
with the
definitely moving on. What is humanism? Raise hand. What is humanism? Yes.
It's the belief that we should focus more on the individual person and to understand God and what He wants for us, we have to look within.
Your answer is like a hand grenade. It sort of explodes all over the area, and thank you for it. There's some good stuff, but it relates. Mr. Suslov, can you clarify?
I said that humanism is the proposition that man is all things.
Man is the measure of all things. Man is the measure of all things, and that man is the proper study of man. So, if man is the measure of all things, and if the proper study of man is man, I got this today, and I can't eat it because I am diabetic. Maddie, you were the first one to raise your hand. You got it. But you don't get your grades are in happy note that I got.
Your grades are in happy?
Yes, my grades are in, and there's a happiness about it.
Am I still failing?
I don't know. I hope not. But if you are, you can fix it.
Well, I think I did. Okay,
Why
never
is
mind.
this a public conversation?
Yeah, okay, so we're getting off to a slow start, and that's my fault. Humanism is a shift in primary focus for people. From what? What was the primary focus of things in the Middle Ages?
God.
Davis. Shh. Davis.
Yeah.
Say it.
I guess.
What?
I guess God and religion.
God and religion, that's right. And in fact, if you want to understand a people, study their cursing. It's one way of studying. When we learned language, we learned all the bad words first. That's, I think, still what happens. But look at our curses. Many of our curses are still steeped in the Middle Ages. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Jesus Christ. And so on and so forth. Things you're not supposed to say in vain because it's only a commandment of God in the Ten Commandments. But so many of our curses still retain that medieval theocentric focus that's God-centered. Yeah.
Okay, so actually, in
Oh,
the Ten
no.
Commandments, how it says.
Actually.
This
Wait.
is a good piece of
Oh, you're
information.
gonna.
That's nice.
Oh,
Just
I
don't
think
act like you're the only authority. The thing about religion is everyone has an opinion. Go.
Yeah, Jackson.
Go.
Anyways, so in the Ten Commandments, how it says that don't say the Lord's name in vain.
Yes.
It's not necessarily talking about like cursing. It's talking about like saying you're a Christian and you're not acting like a Christian, so you're portraying the Christian like
I
Christianity.
basically agree with that. I do. And also bringing God into something unrighteous.
Yeah.
Like at casinos, which I don't go to because I've never enjoyed gambling. The idea just do it. But there are people who say prayers before they roll dice. That to me is, I'm about to say it's dicey. That to me is morally questionable. Morally questionable.
It would have been better if you said that.
Yeah, but I didn't. So I don't get credit for it. Humanism is what our society is and has been for the last 500 years. Now, we have not been as a-religious or even anti-religious as we've been in the last 50 years. That is a new thing. But you can have a society that is still overwhelmingly Judeo-Christian in its outlook, in its values, in its folkways, but that still focuses in terms of social interactions from a humanist standpoint rather than from a religious standpoint. What we're experimenting with in my lifetime, it's one of the many pleasures of being alive when I've been alive, is seeing people say, well, you shouldn't ought to use BC and AD dating because it could offend somebody who's not a Jewish or Christian person. To which I say, well, our society's been overwhelmingly Christian since the 300s AD. It still is, although there are people trying to change that. And I am not going to change my dating system to please some politically correct woke person. Well, just don't say Merry Christmas. Why? I'm going to say Merry Christmas. I happen to be a Christian. You can wish me a super solstice, a Kwezi Kwanzaa, a happy Hanukkah, whatever. If you're an atheist, you can say happy non-holy day or whatever. I don't care. Freedom means the ability to say 2 + 2 is 4. George Orwell wrote that. And what that means is that freedom is the ability to speak truth, even if truth disturbs certain people. This is why I'm not on Facebook, because I resent a company trying to fact check what is opinion. And they act as if it's a reasonable thing to do. No, it's not. It's political censorship. And it's un-American. I won't involve myself with it. Free speech means being able to speak freely. And if someone is offended because I happen to be a Christian, tough toenails. I don't care. I get to do that. If you want to worship Boji, the great Neptunian asparagus god, be my guest. Okay? As long as it's not the flying spaghetti monster, I'm okay.
That is an amazing religion.
Yes. So I hand over here too, I thought.
What is on the board?
That is for ancient history. We're doing creation myths.
Oh, okay.
Remember when we did that? That's Zoroastrianism.
Oh.
My design of
Oh,
Zoroastrianism.
you did that?
Yes, I did.
Cool.
Because I'm an amateur artist.
It looks good.
So, yes.
Is the spaghetti monster a real religion?
No.
Okay.
Okay, now look, there are pastafarians everywhere that would say, of course it is. But they're pastafarians. They're basing their religion on a mixture of Rasta and fun.
Wait, what's a pastafarian?
A pastafarian is a person who believes in the flying spaghetti monster as God.
Genuinely?
No. Okay, you might get somebody who keeps the joke, but it's not serious.
I mean, it could
Okay,
be.
it's a few steps away from Satanism, which is also, to my mind, not serious because it's an anti-religion. You're worshiping the antithesis of God. Satanists tend to look at the Roman Catholic Church and make a mirror image of it for themselves. That's not a religion. That is an offshoot of Christianity. It's an angry offshoot. It's a resentful and rebellious offshoot. But you cannot have a Church of Satan without the Roman Catholic or the Christian faith. It's the antithesis to something, and if something doesn't exist, then it's nothing. You just insulted Satanists. No, I gave you my opinion rationally of their idea. Then there's the science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard, who invents Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard. And why does he invent Scientology? Because, because he is the head of a cult, he gets to surround himself with beautiful women in miniskirts and extol the virtues of life, and they believe him. In other words, he's the worst kind of cult leader, except for the murderous kind, in that he's in it just to have pleasure and money. And he has much said that. Don't tell the Scientologists. So I insulted Satanists and Scientologists today. How does that have to do with this? Well, I suppose I should get back. I'm really scattered today. Yes?
What's a Scientologist?
Person who believes in the religion created by the science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology is actually quite a successful religion if you're talking about money making. Tom Cruise, the actor, is a Scientologist. There are many others who are. But the thing about Scientology, the thing you really need to understand, is to get the secret mysteries, you need to pay. So there's a paywall between you and the divine in Scientology. And if you pay, you get a certain number of secrets. If you pay more, you get more secrets. Exactly.
They're made up.
They're secrets of the universe that only the science fiction writer has. And if you pay money, you can learn them.
Keyword.
Moving on. I apologize for my scatterbrain.
No, I love it.
You can have a humanistic society that has a religious basis. And we proved that from the 1500s through the 1960s or 70s. Now, what is different about the individual in medieval society compared to the modern world from the Renaissance through the present? What is different about the individual? Yes?
The individual in the medieval times couldn't rise up from their position.
In general terms, the individual was placed in a position by God, and their job was to be a good person within that role. If God hadn't wanted the person in that role, he wouldn't have made them the son of a turnip farmer or whatever. Now, there are moments where people do rise by talent or by fortune. In those cases, God intervened and changed their circumstances, so it's okay. What's not ideal is for you as an individual to decide, God, what an idiot. He made me the son of a turnip farmer. But what I really want to be is a dancer. And, you can do that, I suppose. You can go off and join a circus. People did. Even in the Middle Ages, they had traveling fairs and circuses, and you could become a dancer. But to be so ambitious that you basically reject where you were totally reject, and your life is all about competing and overcoming and competing and overcoming. A Christian of the Middle Ages would view that as sinful, because you are not accepting God or his will for you, and instead of looking at people as your brothers and sisters, you're looking at them as obstacles in the way of your success. Make sense? Okay. What about in modern? Yes, Jack.
Is the caste system in Asia essentially a modern equivalent of that individuality in the Middle Ages?
Well, caste system is particular to the Hindus of India. And what they believe is that the soul is eternal. The body is something the soul puts on and takes off like we take off and put on clothing every day. So, your soul and mine probably have been animals and probably have been people that had bestial traits. I don't mean werewolves, I mean criminals and people who just have no self-control. And if we lead good lives, our karma and our dharma will allow us to shed weight, in effect, and our soul will elevate to a higher caste of human being, and then the angels and cows, and eventually join with God. Is that the same thing? Yes, it is, in the sense that you accept where you were born. And if you were born an untouchable, you try to lead the life of an untouchable well. So that's a good insight. I hadn't thought on that much. But yeah, no, I have to say you're right. It's a good thought. Yeah.
What are angels?
What?
What are angels?
They're angels that game. They're the angels. It's a misspeak, Fiona. Angels. That would be interesting, though. Yeah, you wouldn't want to game with angels. They're cutthroat. So what we are now doing is shifting into geography. Geography are the bones of history. And we've already talked about how the northern Italian towns of Genoa and Venice are the primary places through which Middle Eastern goods arrive, and how the wealth that they get from this and the cultural ideas that they get from this percolate throughout northern Italy. Now, there is another aspect of North Italy that we should talk about, and it has a similarity to ancient Greece. The polis, the city-state, is small enough for you as an individual to make an impression on your society. I can try my best to communicate to people, but there are 300 to 350 million Americans, and it takes a lot to reach most of them. I can, on the other hand, try to reach the people of this area, which I do. And it's much easier for me to do that because in this area, Coeur d'Alene has about 50,000 people, give or take, and the county, Coogee County, has probably another 50,000 or so. So we're looking at a population of, I'd say, between 100 and 150,000 easily in our region, not including Spokane and everything across the border. Look at the ratios. One person in 125,000 versus one person in 350 million. It's much easier to make an impression in the smaller community. North Italy, like Greece before the conquest by Philip of Macedon, is not unified. It is a set of poli. So let's look at the divisions within Italy. You will be expected to remember these for a test. So in the south, you have what I list wrongly as the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. That's a later name for it. But basically, Spanish Italy includes Naples, which is this town here, down near the shin and foot of Italy, and Sicily, which is the football that Italy is kicking. So, the Kingdom of Naples, under Spain, is this southern region of Italy here. Now, in ancient times, this region of Italy was also independent before Rome unified the peninsula. Do any of you recall what that region of southern Italy was called? Close. Syracuse is in western Sicily. It's on the island, but it's a part of it. There's a kind of person that inhabited southern Italy in early Roman times. Kind of person. Were they from Italy? Well, then I wouldn't be talking about it. Were they from Spain? Were they from Greece? Were they from Egypt? What?
The book said it was like the state of Naples or something like that.
Yeah. So it's basically Naples, and it's under Spanish rule. But in ancient times, the same region was called Magna Graecia because the Greeks had heavily colonized it during their time of establishing colonies. And Syracuse was one of those colonies. So you have the south of Italy, which is Naples, and it's under Spain. That's what you really need to know. The Spanish are in southern Italy. Okay, here, the knee and the back of the thigh. What is this state? Sir?
The Papal States?
That's the Papal States. The Papal State is Rome, from Rome to Ravenna. Rome is here near the western coast. Ravenna is up here in the swamps near the east. And this area of central Italy has been under the Pope's direct rule. It is the Pope's kingdom. Why does that matter? Because with a kingdom, the Pope can resist royal power. With a kingdom of his own, an army of his own, a government of his own, peasants of his own, the Pope is not going to be turned into a puppet by the kings. What Julius II was fighting for was an independent papacy, a church not under the authority of the state. And he achieves this. And many other popes do. Throughout most of the last 2,000 years, certainly from 476 AD up through 1871, there has been a papal kingdom in the center of England called the Papal State or the Papal States. If you have questions, raise hands. Questions, comments, thoughts. Yes.
You said it was Ravenna?
Yeah. Ravenna's up here near the north and east of the Papal
How do we
States.
spell that?
Ravenna, well, you won't need it for a test, but it's
Oh.
Ravenna. And Ravenna was a place where the Roman emperors hid during the late Empire.
Okay.
When the Visigoths were sacking Rome, the Emperor Honorius was hiding out in the swamp of Ravenna, hundreds of miles away. Okay, now, above Rome is the little state of Siena. Siena is an interesting place. It's an ancient city, it's still a very medieval city, it's still largely intact. Every year in Siena, they have an interesting horse race. This goes back to pagan times. The neighborhoods of Siena are all divided into different teams, each represented by an animal. And they pick their jockeys, their riders. Now, the race, Siena has this sort of roughly rectangular city square, and it's sort of on a slope. All the people gather in the center of the square. The area around the outer edge is fenced off. Well, not really fenced, it's sort of marked off. And that's where the horses are going to race. And basically, the horses race around the square of Siena again and again and again. Now, sometimes, this is a blood sport. It's a blood sport even more than the Indy 500 used to be a blood sport. It's a race, so people are going to die or get injured if there's a crash. But look at where the audience is. In modern racing, there are times when cars flip out of the track into the stands. That's nasty. But in the case of this race, if the rider loses control of his horse and cuts a corner too close, he ends up going into a dense packed crowd of standing men, women, and children. It's also expected every year that somebody's going to get hurt. Maybe not killed, but hurt. And this race has been going on for as long as anyone can remember. Certainly, it was a well-established tradition during the Renaissance. Yeah.
Is this still a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it still happens. Yeah.
How do you spell Siena?
Sienna. Sienna. Okay, north of Siena is Florence. Florence is where Michelangelo is from. Florence is the early heart of the Renaissance. And only later does Rome eclipse it. Florence is a hilltop town in the Etruscan area of Italy. So is Siena, by the way. And Florence is where you have the reign of Lorenzo il Magnifico de' Medici. Lorenzo il Magnifico de' Medici, Lorenzo the Magnificent of the House of Medici. Okay, can you guess what profession the Medici were famous for before they came to political power? Sam?
I would guess medicine.
Yes, yeah, they were doctors. And then they became bankers. They were one of the first families to benefit from the change in the status of the mortal sin called usury. In the late Middle Ages, just before the Renaissance, the popes make a decision about loaning money at interest, which is the heart of all banking. Up until this point, loaning money at interest would send you straight to hell. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. It was a mortal sin, a sin that could damn your soul if you didn't find a way to confess it and atone for it and all that. Mortal sins are deeply dangerous things. So most Christians would have nothing to do with Christian bankers because they were engaged in a mortal sin. So the Jews of Europe became the bankers. But now, the Pope says that usury at worst is a venal sin. That's like a misdemeanor compared to the felony it used to be. As such, the Medici start loaning money at interest. And they start making a lot of money. And they make a lot of friends, and they make a lot of... there are a lot of people that are obligated to the Medici because of the money that the Medici loaned them. So the Medici convert this monetary power into political power, like so many before and since. And the Medici end up running Florence for a while. When the Medici are finally overthrown, just before 1500, it's actually by the person who hires Machiavelli to write his book. So the people who come after the Medicis while enemies of the people who were their clients, like Michelangelo, did actually make a real contribution to world history by getting Machiavelli to write his book. So we've got Kingdom of Naples, Sicily, under Spain. This is Spanish territory. You got the Papal State, you got Siena, we got Florence. Okay, let's go north. Ooh, I didn't include North. There's one that's kind of important in North. Okay, here we have Genoa. Genoa is where a lot of American salami comes from. If you go to the supermarket, you'll see it's listed as Genoa salami. Genoa is, like Venice, a port city. Genoa is closer to the ocean, and it controls this coastal strip south of where the Alps end up coming up to the Adriatic. Venice is back here. Venice controls an area called Venetia, and Venetia is the northeastern Italy, and it goes up into the mountainous territories of the Tyrol. Doesn't quite go to Istria over here, but it's close. So Venetia competes with Milan, which is this city here. So you have Venice, you have Milan, and Venice and Milan are still rivals. Milan is a river city. It's a chief city of the Po River Valley, because it ain't rich. Milan is today a center of world fashion and finance. And so you will be expected to remember of the territories in the Renaissance: Sicily, Naples, both under Spain, the Papal State, Siena, Florence, Genoa, Venice, and Milan. But that's not all, because there are various geographical features. Okay, here's the island of Sicily. You know that. This is the island where a certain kind of salty fish is harvested.
Salmon.
No, not the island of salmon. Yep.
Sardinia.
Sardinia. Sardinia is the southernmost of the two islands here. Sardinia. Up here, eventually, a little boy named Napoleon. Yep. Corsica. Corsica is Italian culturally. It eventually becomes French in terms of government. So you've got Sardinia and Corsica. Now, in terms of waterways, actually before that, what's the mountain range that shields and separates Italy from the rest of Europe?
Alps.
The Alps, where Alpo comes from. Used to be a dog food. The Alps. Now, we have a few C's to know. This here is the Ligurian Sea, Ligurian. The Ligurian Sea, Ligurian. The Ligurian Sea is between Corsica and North Italy and Genoa. The Ligurian Sea, Ligurian. Ligurian.
Say that one more time.
Ligurian. Ligurian. Down here is the Tyrrhenian Sea. Tyrrhenian Sea. Tyrhennian.
You say it again.
Tyrhennian. The Tyrrhenian Sea is between Sardinia and Naples and Sicily. So Ligurian Sea is up here. Tyrhennian. Tyrrhenian Sea is here.
So the Trigorian Sea.
Yeah. Okay, back here, you've got the Adriatic Sea.
Where was the Trigorian?
Adriatic Sea. Adriatic. Adriatic Sea. So you got the Ligurian Sea here, Ligurian. You got the Tyrrhenian Sea, Tyrhennian, and we've got the Adriatic Sea here. For those of you on this side of the room who couldn't see through me, Ligurian Sea, Tyrrhenian Sea, Adriatic Sea. Do any of you need these repeated? Now, the overall sea down here is the sea in the middle of the land, which is 3, 2, 1. Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean. 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 Yes.
I remembered it like Mediterranean.
That'll do.
Mediterranean.
Okay, so that is Italian. I'm going to point, you're going to say.
Venice.
Genoa.
Venice.
Papal States.
Papal States.
States.
That's the Adriatic.
Adriatic Sea. Island of.
Sicily.
Kingdom of.
Spain.
The Spanish rule.
Kingdom
It's
of the two Sicilies.
Naples. Island of.
Corsica.
City of.
Milan.
City of.
Is that the red one?
Siena.
Yeah.
Sea.
Ligurian.
Sea.
Mediterranean.
And city-state. Florence. And, of course, Genoa. Good.
You see how good I did?
We're all impressed. Now, we go to Europe.
Oh boy.
Now, this is late medieval Europe. It's actually a slightly earlier map than this one. But it will do to give you a sense of how things begin to change throughout Europe. So, we're going to start simple.
Okay, wait, where's that?
This is Ireland.
Israel?
Ireland. Ireland. On the north of the island of Britain is the country of Scotland.
Scotland.
Scotland. Source of Scotch, golf, and Presbyterianism. So we got Ireland, we got Scotland. Down here in the southeast of Britain is
England.
United Kingdom.
England.
What?
England. England and Scotland and Wales become the United Kingdom. One Northern Ireland. England. Very old England. Now, the little nub here to the west of England is called Wales.
Wait, where's
W-A-L-E-S. It's this little peninsula here, sticking out of the west-southwest of Britain. Wales. Valles.
Wait, the one where
Scotland's up here, England's down here, and Wales is here. Scotland, England, Wales. Scotland, England, Wales. So, England, Scotland, Wales, and the north of Ireland are all part of the United Kingdom. You don't need to know that. You need to know they're separate sections. Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England. Now, we go north. Norway
Norway?
and Sweden.
Wait, where's the other one?
Finland.
Finland is part of Sweden at this point.
Okay.
Why couldn't my map is cut off?
I remember learning this because of mine.
Okay. So we got Norway, Sweden, the borders are different. Now, this little thumb sticking out of the north of Europe is
Denmark.
Denmark. Very good.
Denmark.
Your geography teacher would be pleased.
Mr. Miles.
Denmark.
Now, that's okay. So Denmark, D-E-N-M-A-R-K. You're writing it down.
Denmark.
You don't know. So, we've done most of Northern Europe. Now we're going to go to Iberia.
Iberia?
Here is Portugal.
Portugal?
P-O-R-T-U-G-A-L. Portugal. P-O-R-T-U-G-A-L. It's on the west of Iberia. Portugal. South is Grenada. G-R-A-N-A-D-A. Grenada. G-R-A-N-A-D-A. Grenada. G-R-A-N-A-D-A. Grenada is an Islamic kingdom in southern Iberia. For now. Grenada. Over here, in the center, on the Meseta Central, you have Spain. What am I saying? Beep, beep, beep. No, it's not Spain yet.
Yeah.
It's Castile.
Castile.
C-A-S-T-I-L-E. Castile. C-A-S-T-I-L-E. Now, in all language, there is a fancy hoity-toity version. In English, there is BBC English, also known as received pronunciation. I can't do it too well. In France, there's Parisian French, which is supposedly better than the Quebecois French. In Spanish, it's the Castellano. The Castellano has a lot of lisping in it. It's Hispania, not Hispania. Papa por la biblioteca, as opposed to pasa por la biblioteca. So, Castile is the heart of the Spanish language and culture.
I vaguely remember us invading a country in the Caribbean called Grenada.
Yes, Grenada and Granada are different. Grenada is a little island that produces nutmeg that we had to invade because the commie Cubans were there back in '82. Grenada is an Islamic kingdom at war with Castile. Now up here, little bitty country called Navarre. Navarre. N-A-V-A-R-R-E, a little tiny country up here between Castile and France. Navarre. Now southeast of Navarre Navarre. 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 Southeast of Navarre is Aragon. 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 Now, it's not Aragon the dragon. It's not Aragorn the Dunedain. It is Aragon. Aragon. Part of Aragon is Catalonia, where Barcelona is. Aragon. Aragon. And here is France. France. France.
It's my favorite country.
Yeah.
Same.
France. Now, you will note the French border is significantly farther west in this time than it is in our time. So France has moved eastward. Questions, comments, thoughts so far? What?
Okay, so there's okay. Sam brought this up, and now I want to know. There's a drink. Is it a what? Is it a
What?
No, like Granada. But what is it?
There's grenadine, which is a liquor.
No, it's like a coffee drink.
I know.
Kahlua.
No. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
No.
I literally got it at the coffee.
Granita?
I
Yes.
Like the coffee.
Yes.
What is it?
Wait, you put alcohol in your coffee?
Yeah.
All the time. She's a booze hound. God, no. What is the name of this that your parents have or know about?
I
It's
don't
a
know.
coffee
It's at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's it called?
Granita.
Granita. Okay, that may be a Starbucks thing.
Yeah, that's why.
Grenadine is a liqueur that offers flavor, but I don't know what flavor it is.
Pomegranate.
Yeah, it's pomegranate juice. It's pomegranate juice.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So, here's France. Now, see this?
Italy.
On this map, in the center of Italy, you have the Papal State, and it's bigger. So the Papal State is bigger on this European map than it becomes a little later. Papal State. It includes part of Venetia. Down here, you got Spanish Italy, Sicily, and Naples. You still got Sardinia and Corsica. We're just covering that. In the center of Europe, Holy Roman Empire. Holy Roman Empire.
Oh, where?
Holy Roman Empire. East of France, north of Italy, west of Poland, south of Denmark.
Germany.
Holy Roman Empire, and it is the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, if you want the full name. But it also includes northern Italy. It includes what we now consider parts of France, and Austria and all the rest, Czech lands. Holy Roman Empire. What? What?
That's this big one right here.
Yeah! Holy Roman Empire. Okay.
It's not so old.
Now,
Or Roman.
oh, you're just quoting goals. Here.
Yeah.
To the southeast, or down and to the right, of the Holy Roman Empire is the Kingdom of Hungary. 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 Southeast of the Holy Roman Empire. Hungary.
I am hungry.
Now, you're going to write them down and you're going to memorize them. Well,
I just kidding.
east of the Holy Roman Empire and north of Hungary is Poland. Poland. Now, Poland is divided on this map from another country, and we'll get to it. But Poland is right here. Poland. Okay. Now, this little nub of an area here is called, yes?
Oh, I was just gonna ask about Poland. It seems like all throughout history, it's like moved from different locations.
Yes.
So, like ethnically, Poles, did they change over time?
Yeah, well, look, Poles have some German blood, they have some Lithuanian blood, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But also, after World War II, there was a Volkswanderung. The Poles moved west as the Russians took eastern Poland and made it into White Russia, or Belarus.
So they didn't necessarily like move where the
Well, after World War II, a lot of them did.
like, but
because
before then, if like the
Before
borders were
then-
changed, would they just stay?
I'll
with
tell, it's a long story. All I can say is this, partition. There were several partitions. We'll go into that.
Okay.
Sometimes they moved, sometimes they didn't. Good question. Okay, north of Poland is the little country of East Prussia.
Russia?
East Prussia. P-R-U-S-S-I-A.
Wait, the little guys?
That little sort of twisted country here is East Prussia. East Prussia is where the land of the Teutonic Knights are. So East Prussia, land of the Teutonic Knights. Now, east of East Prussia and Poland is Lithuania. Lithuania. Now, Poland and Lithuania were in a confederated union. So Poland-Lithuania is actually one country. So the Poles and the Lithuanians both rule this huge area of Eastern Europe, which now includes not only Poland and Lithuania, but Belarus, most of the Ukraine, and even parts of Russia. So Poland-Lithuania was a massive power at the end of the Middle Ages. Unlike in later times, when Poland was sort of crushed by the Germans and the Russians and the Austrians, at this point, the Poles and their Lithuanian allies ruled a vast area. And Poland and Lithuania were highly enlightened. They had a congress called the Sejm. I'm probably saying it wrong. But basically, they had some aspects of republic when most European countries had kings. And they also had a degree of religious tolerance at a time when most Europeans were going to war over which kind of Christian you were. Poland-Lithuania also managed to avoid the worst aspects of the Black Death. So they had good. I've got to move on because of time. If we have time at the end, then I'm going to skip these two. This is still Sweden. This is the Livonian Order of Knights. You don't have to worry about that. This is Russia. This is Muscovy. 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 It's what will become Russia. And you can see it's much farther east and it's much smaller than it later becomes. Muscovy. Here we have the Crimea, and this land is ruled by the Tatars, or the Crimean Tatars, T-A-T-A-R-S, not taters, but Crimean Tatars.
Wait, where is that?
Crimean Peninsula in the area north of it.
It's very
Okay.
Isn't this where country
There's Wallachia, and there is... Okay. Here we have what will later become Romania. You have the province of Wallachia, and there's another province here which I think may be Moravia, but I could be wrong. Wallachia, Romania. So, yes?
Is Wallachia like Slovakia?
No, it's Wallachia, and it's going to become the northern part of Romania.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Wallachia.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The one here is also going to be part of Romania. I think that's Moravia, but I'm going to check. Wallachia, that's right. That's what it said.
That's how it's pronounced, though?
Wallachia. Wallachia. I'll just go on while it's up. Okay, here. This is the Ottoman Empire. The Empire of the Little Couches. The Ottoman Empire. O-T-T-O-M-A-N. The Ottoman Empire. This is named after the Ottoman Turks who rule it. Ottoman Empire. On both sides. Okay. So let's see.
coffee? Do you drink coffee?
Slow coffee.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Ah! Yeah. That's modern. That's not then. Feminine.
Only like down here. Wow, this is a lot of writing.
Yes, it is. Okay, I was wrong. So here, the upper one is Moldavia. M-O-L-D-A-V-I-A. Moldavia. M-O-L-D-A-V-I-A. Moldavia. Down here is Wallachia. I was wrong. I'm sorry.
You messed me up.
So, yeah, I did that. Moldavia, Moldavia, not Moldova, that comes later. Moldavia and Wallachia, Wallachia. Moldavia, Wallachia. Moldavia, Wallachia. The Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
Okay. And, by the way, the Ottoman Empire also includes Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and even all the way to Morocco. So the Ottomans ruled this entire southern region pretty darn well. That's all. I will point. So where is this? Hungary. What about this? Muscovy, aka Russia. This? This? East Prussia. Up here? Here? Denmark. Okay, up here?
England.
Wales.
Ireland. Holy Roman Empire.
Say it like you mean it. Thank you. Papal States.
France.
Aragon. Navarre. Down here. Grenada over here.
Portugal.
And Castile. Good.
Wasn't there somebody named Castile?
Oh, there are all sorts of people. There are a lot of people named Castillo also. They live Castile. That's it for today. Tomorrow we're going into the list of names. Thank you.